You're about to get it.
Yes.
And every one of you that went against me, you're going to get it.
I've never seen a group of people be so nonchalant about a dead person in their back room.
9 Months to Know is learning more today about the woman's body found fully decorated in Christmas lights in a home in southern Colorado.
Whew. Did you folks wake up this morning and think, today I would like to go on a wild journey? If so, well, welcome. Let's begin on the island of Kauai. It's July of 2020, and Amy Carlson, aka Leah, aka Mom, aka Mother, aka Mother God, and her religious group Love Has Won arrived on Kauai from Crestone, Colorado. Her followers claimed Carlson had cancer and was paralyzed from the waist down. After renting a beachfront property, Carlson and 14 group members took up residence, with plans that all of Love Has Won would relocate to the island. The locals were immediately suspicious of Carlson and her followers. It started with their alleged violation of COVID quarantine rules, but quickly shifted to be more about the members' odd, evasive behavior. It was becoming clear that what this small island had on their hands was a cult. Now, cult is a tricky word, and some experts advise against using it, saying it's thrown around in a way that attacks new or less popular religions. But in the case of Love Has Won, you have other experts saying, if it walks like a cult, and it quacks like a cult, well, it's either a duck or a cult. Anyway, Carlson and her followers started doing what any 2020 COVID-era cult would do: constant live streams from their property.
Angel number 666.
This is God's live stream. What are you doing on here, then? What
Just
are
for
you
the
doing?
record, we don't stop.
Yeah, right.
So we can go all day.
We ain't gonna stop. Don't round up this one, okay? Don't tell her to stop because she ain't gonna.
The suspicions that locals were harboring about Love Has Won were soon confirmed by the live streams on Kauai and recording of live streams from the group's previous locations. Despite her followers touting her as all love, a nurturing maternal figure, the live streams also showed Carlson as angry, vindictive, and abusive to followers, children, and animals.
He got me on that fucking mother.
Carlson regularly used foul language and appeared high or intoxicated on camera, despite her alleged rules against any drug or chemical use.
Mom is a no on drugs.
Two of her followers explained to Vice that Mother doesn't use pharmaceuticals or morphine, but she uses a natural painkiller: alcohol, which is organic.
Thank you, I don't drink.
Oh, it's all right. It's organic.
According to former members, that translated to around 8 vodkas a night.
You guys are
She would fill a highball glass, almost the whole way with vodka and just, spritz water on top.
Locals on Kauai start to get more upset the more they learn about Love Has Won. Again, this is a small island. My aunt lives there and said this conflict was often on front page news. Love Has Won gets called predatory of vulnerable populations and dismissive of COVID regulations. In one video, when the topic of Kauai's COVID restrictions come up, 2 followers flip off the camera in response. Mother God herself was generally dismissive of COVID procedures. Love Has Won's company, Gaia's Whole Healing Essentials, LLC, claimed that their colloidal silver products were the key to protecting yourself from the coronavirus. The company advised people to take colloidal silver 3 times a day, 5 times if they showed COVID symptoms. Carlson herself took excessive amounts of colloidal silver, which may actually have contributed to her death. The FDA forced them to change their labeling, but Love Has Won continued to sell supplements, oils, soaps, candles, and over-the-phone healing sessions that would help people ascend, and all the money would go to fund their nonprofit. So they constantly release content, they tout an aspirational existence, they're organic, they know the lowdown on COVID, and they sell a lifestyle alongside supplements and oils. Gwyneth, goopy whoopy, they're coming for your brand. Oh. But regardless of the controversy and anger that Carlson stirred up in the community, Kauai law enforcement had no good reason to take action against the group. According to them, the group hadn't actually broken any laws. But things took a turn when Carlson claimed she was the Hawaiian goddess of fire, Pele. We know she claimed this because she said such things as, "F you, I'm Pele."
They found out the truth that Mother's Pele, and they didn't like that.
Everyone that's saying that we should leave the island, you want to be in denial that Pele has returned, and you think you know better about what you're talking about. You can't think you know better. You can't think you know who Pele is when she stands up and says she is.
As a white person from Hawaii, I feel I can speak for the Hawaiian people when I say what they love most is a 40-something white lady from the mainland coming over during a pandemic and declaring herself to be their sacred goddess Pele. They love it. 5 stars.
Peaceful protesters that had already been gathering outside the group's home turned violent. Bonfires were lit, rocks were thrown. Protesters shouted at Carlson and her followers, and they shouted back and taunted them from their balcony. The house and the group's van were vandalized, with more than 100 protesters, that's a lot for Kauai's North Shore, eventually gathering outside the house. They held signs that read, "Cult not welcome here." And when the fire department asked who started these fires, the protesters yelled, "Pele." That's not a bad answer. The protesters claimed they're not going to stop until these people are off the island. When the house was attacked, the mayor, Derek Kawakami, stepped in to broker an agreement where Love Has Won leaves in exchange for police escorts to the airport. Carlson and Love Has Won managed to fly to San Francisco before eventually ending up back in Colorado. So you might really be starting to wonder, who is this woman? If you were to go off how Carlson describes herself, she was the queen of Lemuria, a lost continent whose descendants may still live inside California's Mount Shasta. While living in Lemuria, Carlson was queen, and her father was Donald Trump. Somewhere at the bottom of your closet, your 2020 bingo card is coming to life and calling your name. This is all to say, Carlson's followers believed that she was the 19-billion-year-old mother of all creation. She was Earth incarnate. She could heal the sick. She'd lived 534 lives that included Jesus and Marilyn Monroe, and she would not die. She would simply ascend, leading 144,000 people to the 5th dimension. But who was Amy Carlson? Really. Born in 1975 and raised in Dallas, Texas, Carlson was a popular student with a pretty singing voice who made great grades. It wasn't until 2006 when she went all in with her new set of beliefs, leaving behind her husband, 2 children, and a job as a manager at McDonald's. Carlson began building her flock by gaining followers on YouTube. What a horrifying way to gain followers. Anyway, if you guys are liking this video, like and subscribe. We're not a cult. One former member claims she had thousands of followers worldwide. And unlike Waco or Jonestown, Love Has Won's reach was vast and shareable. Plus, it was possible to observe Carlson's journey to cult leader in real time. Over the past 15 years, you could watch Carlson's followers grow, as well as watch how she treated them. While she presented early on as sunny and positive, Carlson's behavior and the behavior she expected of her followers became clearly abusive. Carlson demanded that her followers only sleep for 4 or 5 hours a night. They were not always allowed food and were not always allowed to sit, and they had to provide for her every need. If they collapsed or fell asleep, they were deemed lazy.
It's usually people that are really lazy. I think it's the people that grew up in a different way. They were the people that sat on the couch all day and laid in bed all day, and so they get very triggered by it.
A follower of hers is shown in a live stream being berated by Carlson and Jason, aka Father God.
Love runs this bitch!
For the sin of bringing Mother God meatballs instead of chicken parmesan.
I didn't say meatballs. I love meatballs, but I didn't say that. Chicken Parmesan!
Jesus and Marilyn Monroe would never have to put up with that. Despite all this, at their home base in Crestone, Colorado, no arrests were ever made of Carlson or anyone in the group. While the sheriff's office in Crestone said numerous complaints were made about the group, brainwashing people and stealing their money, no one would admit to wrongdoing on the part of Carlson.
We've been trying to ask the sheriff and the county for 3 years now to get this place shut down as a public nuisance, and we're ignored.
It's worth forefronting that Amy Carlson was a woman. Most infamous cult leaders in recent memory are men, and even though Carlson's followers spoke of her as the motherly embodiment of love and comfort, she was mean. She was a bully. Her attitude was like, "You can't cancel me, I'll cancel you, asshole. I'm the queen of effing Lemuria." And maybe in the 21st century, all those factors were part of the effing draw. So what drew us to this story? On April 28, 2021, an alleged member of Love Has Won, Miguel Lamboy, walked into a police station to report that he'd come home and discovered a corpse in his house, a corpse he identified as 45-year-old Amy Carlson. Lamboy had returned to his house in Moffett, Colorado, another tiny town next to Crestone, and found 5 other Love Has Won members needing a place to stay. He agreed to let them crash and left for the night. When he went back the following day, he learned them included Carlson's corpse in the back bedroom. Her mummified body was wrapped in a sleeping bag, decorated with Christmas lights, and had glitter makeup applied around her empty eye sockets. Her lips were dehydrated and pulled back to reveal her teeth. According to police, the mummified remains appeared to be set up in some type of shrine. Mother God had become Mummy God.
I'm sorry for that joke.
The county coroner determined the body had been dead for some time, decomposed to the point where getting fingerprints was impossible. Upon examining a car on Lamboy's property, the vehicle was, quote, consistent with someone transporting the mummified remains, which I think just means the seats were laid flat. From now on, anytime I put my back seats down to move a dresser or something, I'm gonna say, ah yes, consistent with someone transporting mummified remains. Lamboy went to the police when the Love Has Won members in his house wouldn't allow him to remove his 2-year-old son from the property. When police entered the home, they found Carlson's body, the shrine, the Love Has Won members, Lamboy's son, and a 13-year-old girl. Lamboy's son was returned to him, and the girl was taken into protective custody. As of now, 7 adults have been charged with abuse of a corpse and child abuse. The date of Carlson's death hasn't yet been confirmed, but it seems that Carlson started to rapidly decline in March, with a photo of her taken approximately 3 weeks before her death looking gaunt and purple, possibly because of the sheer amount of colloidal silver she was taking. On April 14th, a member announced in a live stream, of course, from the Mount Shasta area in California, her vessel is not sustaining. And then on April 16th, members in the live stream said she was very, very, very close to dying, and she's slowly going out of her vessel. But of course, it's also possible the death had already occurred by the time these announcements were made. By April 26th, the Love Has Won members were kicked out of an RV park in Mount Shasta, and from there, it seems they traveled with Carlson's body back to Moffett, Colorado. All in all, it seems like Mother God's plans were fulfilled. But what about all this abuse of a corpse stuff? I know I've talked about abuse of corpse laws before, often, but since laws can vary from state to state, here's a quick rundown of what Colorado says about corpse treatment. A person commits abuse of a corpse, which is a Class 2 misdemeanor, if they 1. Remove the body from a grave without the consent of the person who has the right to dispose of the remains, or 2. Treat the body in a way that would outrage normal family sensibilities. There's also tampering with a deceased human body, which is a Class 3 felony. That's when a person, or persons, or gaggle of Love Has Won members, without legal right, willfully destroy, mutilate, conceal, remove, or alter a human body with intent to impair its appearance or availability in the official proceedings. So according to all of the above, was Amy Carlson's corpse abused by her followers? Well, as far as our corpse in question is concerned, likely no. Yes, Carlson's followers wrapped her up in a sleeping bag, drove her across state lines, and decorated her desiccated eye sockets with glitter makeup, but it seems that was kind of in line with what she wanted. Just because most of us wouldn't want to be a sparkly sleeping bag mummy doesn't make this corpse abuse. You can't outrage Love Has One's definition of normal family sensibilities because they're not really a normal family, you know? So as far as Mother God is concerned, no, but as far as the state is concerned, likely yes. Death investigations, such as autopsies done by the medical examiner or coroner, take precedence over the wishes of a family. I can't push my mother down the stairs, take her body across state lines, and prop her up in the elephant diorama at the Natural History Museum. The state where she died and the state she was brought to would go, hey, wait a minute, you never registered that death, or we don't know the causes of her death, and it also seems like you may have murdered her. And in the case of Amy Carlson, she was only 45 years old. She was said to have cancer, but we don't know if she had a doctor, if alcoholism played a part, if excessive colloidal silver played a part. I obviously have no idea, but that's the point. No one does unless there's a doctor or coroner involved. At the same time, abuse of a corpse is sort of a red herring. No one truly gets the books thrown at them for abuse of a corpse charges. I can't help but wonder if this is a kind of gotcha situation with Colorado law enforcement. They couldn't make the charges stick when Carlson was alive, but now that she's dead, they got Love Has Won on abusing the corpse. It's a sparkly mummy. We can't have this. As I wrote about in my second book, Colorado actually has the best, most open to interpretation funeral laws in the United States. And Crestone is a town that's populated by all manner of religious groups, from Buddhists to Carmelite nuns. Though, by most accounts, Love Has Won was a bridge too far for even their open-minded population. It's home to the Crestone End of Life Project, the only place in the US where a body from the local community can be cremated on an open-air pyre. Crestone is just one of those places where open-mindedness and less than strict laws can lead to absolutely beautiful rituals that push back against funeral laws in the United States. But that also means that Love Has Won felt like it was the right place to get away with pretty much anything. So here's where the story stands. Her followers have been released on bond.
How did she die?
Kenneth, I actually do not have an answer for that. Sincerely, I don't know.
Even now, her followers refuse to say she died. She's merely out of communication. They did confirm on live stream that she had ascended.
A lot's going on. And the most beautiful thing of all is that Mother God has ascended. Woohoo! Yippee!
It's easy to make light of this story because mummified cult leader just seems like something out of a different era, right? That's why it can be helpful to remember those who have lost loved ones, a form of death in itself, to cults like Love Has Won. Cole Carlson, Amy's son, whom she left when he was just 10, was expecting her death, but he's disturbed by everything that has happened since. He's looking to find justice for those who paid massive amounts of money to join Love Has Won. It makes me mad, Cole said, and I really don't want to see this work continued, especially with his mother's name attached or in her honor. This video was made with generous donations from death enthusiasts just like you.